What you're about to hear could save you years of silent suffering. Because there's a secret to breaking porn addiction that nobody talks about. And no, it's not willpower. It's not cold showers. It's not some overpriced course. It's something so counterintuitive that most people dismiss it immediately. But by the end of this, you'll understand exactly why it works. And you'll have a step-by-step path to take your brain back. Let's get something straight first. Porn addiction has nothing to do with sex. Nothing. It's not about desire. It's not about loneliness. It's about one molecule hijacking your entire nervous system. Dopamine. And once you understand how that hijacking works, the solution becomes obvious. Right now, pornography is the #1 cause of erectile dysfunction in men under 40. Think about that. Not diabetes, not heart disease, not medication side effects. Porn. And erectile dysfunction is just the tip of the iceberg. We're talking about killed libido, inability to climax with a real partner, emotional numbness that bleeds into every area of life, the ability to feel joy, motivation, excitement about anything just slowly drains away. You wake up feeling flat. Nothing excites you anymore. Your girlfriend, your goals, your hobbies, they all feel gray. And the only thing that cuts through that fog is opening another tab. That's the trap. So let's talk about what's actually happening in your brain. Most people think dopamine is a pleasure chemical. It's not. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter, similar to a hormone, but it operates within the nervous system. Its job isn't to make you feel good. Its job is to make you want things. It's the anticipation before the reward, the craving, the seeking behavior. Think of it as the gas pedal of your motivation system. It's what gets you out of bed, what makes you chase goals, what makes food taste good before you eat it. It's wired for survival. Your brain releases dopamine to drive you toward things that keep you alive. Food, water, mates, achievement. Now here's where porn breaks everything. The porn industry isn't selling sex. They're selling dopamine spikes. Massive, artificial, unlimited dopamine spikes. And your brain was never designed to handle that volume. There's a well-documented phenomenon in biology called the Coolidge effect. Researchers observed that after a male mammal mates, its interest in that specific partner drops significantly. But introduce a new female, and desire instantly returns. Full reset. Porn weaponizes this effect. This is exactly why every site has endless sidebars, autoplay, infinite scroll, constantly rotating thumbnails. Each new image or video triggers a fresh dopamine spike. Your ancient brain thinks it's encountering a new potential mate every 3 seconds. For our ancestors, finding one mate was a rare, difficult event. Now your brain processes more novel sexual stimuli in 10 minutes than your great-grandfather encountered in his entire lifetime. Your neurology cannot handle that mismatch. And it gets worse. There's something called dopamine receptor downregulation. Every time you get an extreme dopamine spike, the receptors on your brain cells actually retract back into the cell. They pull inward. Fewer receptors means less sensitivity. Less sensitivity means you need a bigger spike to feel the same thing. This is why people escalate. Soft content stops working. They move to more extreme material, then even more extreme. The feedback loop tells the body to pump out more and more dopamine because it's not connecting to the cells anymore. Meanwhile, your baseline capacity for pleasure drops lower and lower. If this sounds familiar, it should. It's the exact same mechanism behind insulin resistance. When you flood your body with carbohydrates over time, insulin levels spike repeatedly. The receptors for insulin start retracting into the cell. The body compensates by producing even more insulin. And now you're trapped in a cycle where you're addicted to sugar, but getting less and less satisfaction from it. Same mechanism, different molecule. Dopamine resistance works identically to insulin resistance. Your brain is literally becoming resistant to its own motivation chemical. Here's the part that should genuinely concern you. Too much dopamine floating around your brain creates something called excitotoxicity. Too much excitation is toxic to your neurons. It can actually kill nerve cells. This isn't metaphorical damage. This is structural brain damage from overstimulation. Think of it like this. Imagine you're in a completely dark room and someone turns on a flashlight. You can see fine. Now imagine someone shines that flashlight directly into your eyes. You squint. You look away. Your pupils constrict. That's a protective mechanism. Your eyes are shielding themselves from too much light. That's exactly what your dopamine receptors are doing. They're squinting. They're pulling back into the cell to protect themselves from the flood. That's downregulation. And when those receptors are squinted shut, real life can't get through. A real relationship is slower. It's unpredictable. It builds gradually. But your desensitized brain has been trained on instant, extreme, unlimited stimulation. Real intimacy can't compete with that. So you're trapped, stuck choosing between pixels on a screen and a real human being. And the pixels keep winning. Not because they're better, but because your receptors are broken. Now drop a comment below if you've experienced any of this. That creeping numbness, the escalation, the feeling that real life just doesn't hit the same anymore. Because if you have, what comes next is going to change everything. Let's talk about the way out. The good news is that down-regulated receptors are reversible. Your brain can heal. The receptors can come back. And the secret to making that happen is going to sound almost too simple. Boredom. Deliberate, aggressive, weaponized boredom. Now wait. People go to porn because they're bored, right? So how can boredom be the cure? Because there's a difference between passive boredom, where you're understimulated and reaching for a hit, and active boredom, where you're consciously sitting with the screaming dopamine inside you and refusing to feed it. Think about the urge to watch porn as a person screaming at you. You have three options. You can give in to the screaming. You can fight the screaming, yell back, white-knuckle it. Or you can sit there, completely bored, and let it scream itself out. The third option is the one that actually works. Because just like fasting reverses insulin resistance by removing the constant sugar spikes, a dopamine fast reverses dopamine resistance by removing the constant stimulation spikes. And boredom is the purest form of a dopamine fast. When the urge hits, don't fight it. Don't negotiate with it. Don't try to distract yourself. Don't bargain. Just sit with it. Observe how loud it gets. Watch it peak, and then turn up the boredom. Get aggressively comfortable with doing nothing. Because here's what happens neurologically. Without the spike, your brain has nothing to downregulate against. The receptors start creeping back to the surface of the cell. Sensitivity returns. And each time you ride out an urge without feeding it, the next one gets weaker. The impulse rises, peaks, and falls. Every single time. It always passes. And each cycle gets easier because your dopamine system is normalizing. But let's talk about what you actually gain when you stop. Because this isn't just about avoiding damage. The recovery timeline is real, and the benefits stack fast. Within the first week, most men report sharper mental clarity. That brain fog you've been living in starts lifting. Your sleep improves because your nervous system isn't in a constant state of overstimulation before bed. You start waking up with more energy instead of dragging yourself through mornings. By 2 to 3 weeks, emotional sensitivity starts returning. Music sounds better. Conversations feel more engaging. You start laughing at things that didn't register before. That emotional flatness begins cracking open. Many men report feeling genuine motivation for the first time in years. Goals that felt pointless suddenly have pull again because your dopamine system is recalibrating to respond to real-world rewards. Around the 1-month mark, confidence shifts noticeably. Eye contact becomes easier. Social anxiety decreases. There's a groundedness that people around you can sense even if they can't name it. Physical energy increases. Workouts feel more productive. Recovery improves. Many men report that their body composition starts changing, not from any diet shift, but because their hormonal environment is stabilizing. Between 2 and 3 months is where the deep changes lock in. Attraction to real partners returns in a way that feels completely different from the artificial pull of a screen. Erection quality improves dramatically. Sensitivity comes back. Emotional connection during intimacy becomes possible again. sometimes for the first time in someone's adult life. Creative output spikes, drive sharpens. That fire you had as a teenager, that raw motivation to build something and chase something, it comes roaring back because your dopamine receptors have resurfaced. Your brain is responding to real stimuli again. By 6 months, most men describe feeling like a completely different person. Not because they changed who they are, but because they removed the thing that was suppressing who they actually were the entire time. Now, to make this work, your environment has to support the process. Don't bring your phone into the bedroom. Install blockers on every device. Cut social media that serves you soft content because your brain doesn't distinguish between that and the real thing. It's the same dopamine pathway. This is identical to what you do for a sugar addiction. You don't keep junk food in the house and rely on willpower. You remove the trigger from your environment. Make it harder to fail than to succeed. A few more things that are critical for restoring dopamine receptor sensitivity. Sleep. Get more of it. Even 1 extra hour makes a measurable difference in receptor recovery. If you can take naps, do it. Your brain does significant repair work during sleep. Consistent exercise, especially resistance training. Lifting weights is one of the most effective ways to normalize your dopamine system naturally. It provides healthy, moderate spikes that train your receptors to function properly again. A low-carbohydrate diet matters here too, because carbohydrates trigger their own dopamine spikes. If you're trying to reset your dopamine sensitivity while eating processed carbs all day, you're working against yourself. A clean ketogenic approach removes that interference. Zinc and magnesium supplementation. Zinc is one of the most important trace minerals for dopamine production and receptor function, and most people are deficient. Magnesium supports the same pathways and helps with the sleep quality that accelerates recovery. Sunlight. Get outside. Natural light exposure directly influences dopamine and serotonin production. 15 minutes of morning sunlight does more for your neurochemistry than most supplements. And keep yourself productively busy. Not stimulation busy, not doom-scrolling busy, but building something, learning something, moving your body. Give your brain real achievements to reward instead of artificial ones. Remember this. Porn addiction is not a moral failure. It's a neurochemical trap. Your brain got hijacked by a system designed by people who understand dopamine better than you do. The porn industry knows that 98 to 99% of their content is free. They make their billions from the 1 to 2% of users who are so desensitized, so dopamine resistant, that they'll pay for more extreme content just to feel something. That's the business model. Get you hooked for free, then profit from the damage. The way out is not through more stimulation. It's not through fighting harder. It's through sitting still, being bored on purpose. Letting your brain heal itself the same way your body heals a wound when you stop picking at it. If this changed how you think about what's actually happening in your brain, hit subscribe. We break down the science the health industry won't tell you every single week.